And then it was just way more efficient. So
Yeah, he's like, hey guys, look at this cool thing I did. They're like, yeah, we're just gonna use it to beat you up now.
and he basically like murders the king.
He didn't fight, he resisted diplomatically. Now I've got a whole class of people who are just like, the fur.
That first one was rough. That second one, flawless.
The second one was, yeah, the first one did sound pretty rough. So,
You sound pretty rough.
Your face sounds pretty rough.
the problem is I hate this, but I know that Noah's going to use it as the intro. I feel like there's too many intros that are just post-clap sync chatter.
Well, we don't usually have a solid intro, so we could do that today.
I'm always ready to create a solid intro on the fly.
Well,
But now I don't have to, so you don't have to like hold me to that, so I can just like sound like I was prepared and then not actually be held accountable for my words. How's that sound?
That was good.
suppose it's
That's a
an
good
option.
idea.
Thank you.
so I mean, I guess as people who have seen the title of the episode, which will probably be something like "With Elias" is gonna be, or something like that. We got a guest
Wait, can it
today.
be something else?
I guess it could be something else. What should we call it?
Elias, do you have a cool name that you'd like to have it be instead?
Yeah, if you could refer to me as Left Shark, that would be ultimately preferable. Thank you.
What about Sandstorm Left Shark?
That's cool
Just
and
spitballing.
all, but
You see, Left Shark is his that's his mixed martial arts name.
I was
As
gonna
a
say,
professional
I assumed
fighter,
that's what it was.
he has that
No
name.
Sandstorm?
Well, you're
yeah,
not
probably
technically professional yet.
No, I'm
we gonna-
definitely
can we-
amateur.
Can we say the whole the like, you know, welcome back to Off the Air? You
What
know,
we're talking about? We're getting there.
are
I
we?
mean,
Because
we
it feels
could
like we're
welcome them back.
kind of diverging
definitely
real
getting there.
hard.
I don't know if you
we
guys were
were to
getting
welcome
there.
people back, I suppose I would say my name is Noah or something
And if
cheesy
I were to
like
give
that.
my name, I would probably say that it's Jackson.
And if I were to give my name, I'd say something really sassy.
And then we'd say something like, and in the studio today we have Left Shark MMA himself.
Mr. Left Shark MMA, that's his full name, right?
You didn't see, but he just like did a very sophisticated dab.
I believe it, and I'm really glad that you vocalized that.
Yeah, no problem.
You gonna say words and say, hello, yes, it is I. That would be something that we
hi.
would normally do.
You're allowed to talk as much as you want. I'm not going to shut you down like I shut my mom down. It's all right.
But yeah, I'm Left Shark, and that's the scoop.
That's a pretty good scoop, actually. I did like that. So, Left Shark, is that your fursona?
No, that is something completely different.
Oh, nice.
You
love
do
how
have one, to
You
be
started
clear.
as laughing and then you got so businesslike. It's like, no, that is something completely
Guys,
different.
so I actually have a really good story about furries.
Oh, please.
I've been actually
oh,
seriously
Lord.
waiting for this though.
I know, and it's just, and this isn't even like I brought this for the podcast, like specifically, this just actually happened to me on Friday, and it's rough, guys. So I was in my journalism ethics class, which I think I've talked about before. I told the story about the one guy, he said it's always okay to lie to cops, right?
I mean, I don't think you did, but yes.
Wow. Okay, so that's like takes the punchline away. So I'm going to tell two stories about this journalism ethics class. The first one is there was a gentleman in my class named Darian, who's super dope guy. And he sits like 2 seats down from me. We're doing this discussion about, telling the truth in the field of media. And he is like, the teacher's like, hey, when is it okay to lie? And he's like, well, Professor Wilson, I think it's always okay to lie to cops. I'm losing it. Darian's like, they say they smell something. I say, no, you don't. I'm like, come on, dude. Come on. It was so funny.
What a legend.
Yeah, for real. Like, to the professor, he's just like, yeah, I think you should always lie to the cops. Oh, man. He didn't even, like, pretend that...
I guess if you're
And
gonna
it wasn't
lie
like he
to
was called on.
someone-
He raised his hand to say this in discussion. He wasn't put on the spot. He was like, he thought this through, was like, you know what I should say? I should talk about that. Anyhow, we were talking about privacy, and the section of privacy we were talking about was the disclosure of embarrassing personal information to the public. So, like, basically, we were going through a whole bunch of examples, and one of them I was like, well, what if you talk to somebody and you tell them in confidence that you have like some like act of sexual deviance you participate in, and then they tell the public that would qualify as this. And the professor was like, yeah. And then his example, he was like, you guys have heard of bestiality before? And I was like, dude, what? What?
That's
Why?
what he thought he'd
Please
lead
give
with?
me.
I guess that's what but it gets better. And so he's like, like that, but he's like, but that's illegal. And I was like, well, what if it wasn't illegal? What if it was something like being a furry, where it's not illegal, but it's, still the same realm? He was like, oh. I'm like, no, you don't get it. Not me. And so now I've got a whole class of people who are just like, the furry. I'm like, no, guys, you don't, like, it's not, I'm not there. He brought it that in that area. I was just bringing it back into the realm of legality.
The realm of legality, where it's like
Exactly, and-
it's an embarrassing
and now-
thing that you actually could tell someone without them like going to jail.
Exactly, because you don't have a civic obligation to report that someone's a furry. You have a civic obligation to report that someone is performing acts of bestiality because that's criminal.
Yeah.
You know? But so I brought it back into the realm of legality for the purpose of the discussion in the class, and then it made me just look like a furry.
What about
And that's not what I
furries
wanted.
asking for a friend? Wink, wink.
Not that I care, of course, but you know.
Yeah,
Not
no,
that
I
I'm
care.
one of those forays, as you were, but you know, what if one of my friends was, and he became famous for hypothetically a podcast or something? What if my famous podcast friend was a furry but didn't tell anyone? What would you do?
Time sensitive question, so I do need an answer though.
It's just like, come on. I didn't.
Freaking amazing.
I didn't need that. I didn't deserve that. And now the whole class is just gonna be like, here he comes. Here comes the furry again. No, guys.
No, it wasn't me.
I didn't do it, man.
It wasn't me.
It was for the discussion. All right. So that's my story.
It's a really good story. Honestly, you've
Thank
been
you.
bringing out all the best stories from your classes, and I love it.
Yeah, my classes have been pretty rife with good stories. And actually, speaking of things that are good,
Yeah.
welcome back.
What a nice sound.
Thank you. It really is. That's why I've been kind of getting more cans than bottles lately, because the cans are just so much more satisfying in terms of sound.
Yeah, well, I do remember having an entire conversation of that where I spaced out on you weighing the merits between the sound of a can and a bottle, and then I just reiterated your point. I might
That
have
sounds
cut that
right,
out
yeah.
of the actual episode. I might have edited that out, but it did happen.
That sounds like a good moment, though.
Did you guys
And
see
it also
the,
sounds like a moment that I can believe.
Did you guys see the gif of somebody like dissolving the aluminum off the outside of a can to show that there's like a plastic lining?
No, but I
never
do
have.
know that there's a plastic lining.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was. I mean, I'd assumed there was, but I'd never like seen it on it in anything or had any interaction with it for any reason.
There's one.
Yeah, it's almost like waxy.
Yeah. You
Um,
know, kind of
it's
metal taste.
to maintain flavor,
Mhm.
because you don't want everything tasting like metal like it used to.
I think that was always my biggest issue with like canned sodas versus like glass bottle sodas. Is the canned sodas always did taste like aluminum. Now they just kind of taste like soda.
You know what, Noah? They do taste like soda.
Thanks.
And speaking of not saying pop, because I technically work in the Midwest, I work right over the Ohio border. And did you guys know about? Wait, I need to talk about this beer. But did you guys know about Sweetest Day?
Sweetest
Sorry,
day?
what?
Thank you.
Is
for
that
You
what
can't
you're
call
like
them
the
that
sweetest
anymore.
person?
Wait, what? So basically, it's only in the Midwest, and it's Valentine's Day 2.
Oh no.
Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo. Like I never really heard of it, and yesterday all my coworkers were like, "Oh, it's Sweetest Day. We're gonna be really busy." I'm like, "It's what day?"
What the fuck
Like,
did you just call me?
like, and they all looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, "It's Sweetest Day," and I was like, "It's Swedish Day," and they were like, "No,"
Yeah, you know, like the chef.
and I was like, "No, what do you mean? It's Sweetest Day," and then they were like, "Yeah, you just like you get presents for your boyfriend and your girlfriend. You give them like chocolates and stuff." I'm like, "So it's Valentine's Day, but in October," and they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, well, happy Sweetest Day, I guess."
I mean, not gonna lie, I kind of hate that.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
absolutely
100%.
loathe it. It's the worst.
I don't know, man.
people in the Midwest
snuggle
just made
weather
up a holiday.
though.
I agree. Man, people in the Midwest, I guess they're just like struggling over there or something. So they were like, we need another holiday. We need another source of happiness.
That sounds pretty valid to me, though.
I think you meant couth.
Couth. That seems very couth to me. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I can't believe I would never say valid. Not on your podcast.
Yeah, that's not very couth of you.
It's not.
In fact, one could say it's uncouth.
What one could say it's uncouth.
I don't know
why
if one
would
would
they?
go that far.
Jackie, what's your beer?
2 minutes later. So today's actually a different scenario. There's actually the beer I have in front of me is not the one I'm reviewing, but it's as close as I could get to it. And that's the reason why we're all PA boys,
Yes.
Pennsylvanians, if you will.
We all
Yeah.
I
are.
will.
We are all
I will
indeed
not.
Emphasis on the yins.
Pennsylvanians. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. So today I am doing a review for a beer I could not actually find in stores. I looked around for it. I went on the beer tracker app thing, and I couldn't find it anywhere. It's not even like a Wegmans yet. It's not anywhere near where I work. It is, but we have it like where I work, but it's only on draft. So I was able to try it, but I'm not able to bring it home. What it is Yingling and Hershey's
Oh, dude, I heard about this.
chocolate porter. Yeah. I had seen like someone post on Facebook about it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then like I went to work the next day and we had it on draft. So I was like, nice, I'm gonna try this. I don't know if it's just because I'm from Pennsylvania, so I've got like the Yingling and Hershey's in my blood, but it's really good. It really does taste like, you know, Hershey's chocolate syrup, but not in a bad way. It's not like sweet or like, you know, I don't know if you guys have ever drank chocolate syrup before, but you know, I'd be like that sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And it's not very good by itself, believe it or not.
I would agree.
But it is a really good addition to like the Yingling, because it's a Yingling porter, and it's the Hershey's chocolate. It's kind of like a dark chocolate, like maybe a semi-sweet. It doesn't bring like an overpowering sweetness to the beer, so it still maintains like it's like savory and slightly bitter taste.
Well, that's nice.
But it also really does have notes of chocolate, which lends itself well to beer anyway, because they have a similar flavor profile if you remove the sugar anyway.
Well, yeah, nice. I mean, there's a lot of beers that come across super chocolatey anyway, so I guess I can see it, and I'm not gonna be mad about it. That's for sure.
Yeah, especially like your darker beers, anyway, like your porters and your stouts. Half the time you get a porter or stout, it's going to be like a chocolate or a coffee porter or stout.
Right.
Like it's just an incredibly common flavor profile for those beers because it fits them so well. And so you have these two titans of the industry. You've got the oldest brewery in America, and you've got Hershey's chocolate, which is probably something special, like oldest or I don't know, whatever. But both from PA combined, they create a great combination, and it's a great beer. What I'm drinking instead is Yingling's Black and Tan, which they have in cans. Which is also a new thing, because a Black and Tan uses a porter and usually like a lager or a pilsner, and yeah, so I guess Yingling's just be making porter now.
I'm actually drinking a Yingling right now, as
I respect that.
Our boy Left Shark can verify.
I can verify. He is drinking literally right now. Oh my gosh, he just did.
I can't believe this happens.
Yeah, it's
Welcome
almost
to
like
PA.
you invited somebody into your studio, and by your studio I mean your living room, and now they
It's
can
a
call you
studio.
on all your dumb shit.
Studio D.
Is the D for deets or for D's nuts?
It's for deets. It's for deets.
Is the studio for Joe?
The studio is for Joe. How did you know? How could you have guessed?
I'm gonna move past
You know-
the Joe comment and go back
You guys
to
know
D's nuts.
Joe? No, Noah, do you know Joe?
You mean Suzuki Joe, our Lord and Savior, or a different
No,
one?
no.
yes.
Do you know Joe?
Hallowed be thy name.
No,
You don't know Joe?
I know this is leading up to something, and I feel like an idiot.
Oh my god, wait, you actually
Joe
not know?
Mama!
Oh my god, Jesus Christ. I thought he was just doing a bit. I thought
Got him.
you got him. You know what,
No.
Jackson?
2 names off the list.
I'm so proud of you.
Anyway,
Never lie to me again.
D's nuts reminded me of Deets nuts. Have you guys tried those?
I have
I
not.
What?
I know one person who has.
Yeah, me.
Yeah. It was
Wait, Elias,
clearly you that I was talking about.
Are you not familiar with Deets Nuts?
I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, no, these are the
It's-
thing. They're the funniest thing.
Okay,
They had a
so
Super Bowl ad.
I was
That's how
gonna say
remember-
Super
how I
Bowl
know.
like 2 years ago, something like that. You get this ad that's Dietz and Watson is making these little meat cubes, and they're the whole premise of would you like to try Dietz nuts? And that was like they had like 5 commercials that year. They were just like
Yeah.
Dietz nuts.
Who did they have on? They had a famous actor doing like the Deets Nuts commercial.
It was
Who did all of them?
Oh,
Who
who
was it?
I don't remember. But anyway,
I don't either actually. Was it like John Hamm? I don't know why it sounds like it might have been John Hamm.
It says Craig Robinson.
Craig
Craig
Robinson.
Robinson. That sounds
Yeah.
right too.
Oh, the guy that played Daryl in The Office.
He did play Daryl in The Office.
Yeah, and he's out here
He's
asking
also-
about Dietz nuts. And
Funny guy.
I finally tried them, and the only ones I could try were the hickory smoke maple flavor. And I'll be honest, those were too sweet. I did not like
I'm
that.
not gonna lie, hickory smoked maple. That sounds like too many types of wood.
It's like,
You get one type of wood.
it was like maple syrup.
I know,
Hickory
but it
so-
better be maple smoked maple. You can't mix wood. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough. I don't know. I
called
was
being
I
gay
was
when you
not a
mix
huge
wood.
fan of it because it was just a little bit too sweet for me. But I do get the idea behind meat chunk snack food culture.
Culture. There's a culture to meat chunk snack food.
Yeah. Well, it's usually
know
it's
what? I'm
called
not gonna lie.
charcuterie, and you put it on a big board with cheese, and then you serve it with
I do
wine.
love charcuterie.
It makes you feel special and fancy, mostly
It-
fancy.
It does make you feel special about eating basically a Lunchable.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, y'all some bougie fuckers calling it. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce it because I'm gonna fuck it up.
Charcuterie.
Charcuterie.
Y'all some
It's spelled with
bougie
CH.
motherfuckers.
It's French.
I mean, I can tell it's French. You know how I know it's French? Because it's a very long, arbitrary word that means meat cube.
No.
It does not mean meat cube at all, actually.
It
but
does not. No, it refers to. It means like It's basically just refers to everything that you serve with like a wine and cheese night. The whole board that has cheese and meat and fruit and stuff on it. That's the
And
charcuterie board.
usually like
And
crackers.
crackers.
of some
Oh
sort.
wait, sorry, not
You
on this
can't-
podcast.
No, you're good.
Yeah, you can't say that.
We're both going
We went over
to
this
the big
before
brain road of
episode.
crackers.
You guys can't talk about crackers on this podcast.
My bad. My bad.
You're right. So guys, Dan? Have you ever had a charcuterie board before?
I absolutely have, but I've
Aren't they
never
great?
heard it called that before.
Really?
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
The only place I've heard it called that was on like some cooking video on YouTube.
Really?
Because I'm gonna make a hot, spicy take.
I'm not gonna lie. It's not like in my experience anyway. It's not like a super upscale thing. Like they
It's
have a charcuterie
not-
board where I work, and I work at like a burger joint.
Having one is not upscale. Calling it that is upscale. Is
I think
my
it's just
take.
a good name for it.
I've only ever heard it like called like a cheese platter or something, and I know that's not the same thing. I understand, but like that's like the closest I've ever gotten to like having something called
Go
that.
absolutely Stalingrad on a cheese board / charcuterie tray / lunchable.
No, yeah, of
I don't
course.
care what you call it. I'm gonna eat it.
You guys, what is your favorite like some kind of
Cheese?
dinner party like appetizer?
Cheese.
Like-
You know what?
I love those
I
little
got a
puff
good one.
pastries with like spinach in them.
Ooh,
Those are
puff
really good.
pastries.
Spinach puff.
Cheese, like straight
Can't
up.
go wrong with puff pastries.
Yeah, pigs in a blanket, man.
Pigs in a blanket
good
are
call.
the shit. No, that's fair.
Hell yeah.
Now this is an extreme example. This isn't a common one.
Go
This
for
is
it.
just one I had recently when I was in Charleston for the wedding.
Yeah.
There was at the rehearsal dinner. It was a pretty fancy place, and there was this appetizer that came out, and it was skewers of. It was a little like ounce of filet mignon, and then like a ball of pimento cheese, and then a fried green tomato, and it had like a balsamic vinaigrette on it.
That
And it
does
was
sound
one of the
fucking
greatest
dope.
things I've ever had.
That sounds
was
so
so
good.
That sounds
it was
amazing.
so good.
I've
Yeah,
never
no,
been
I
more
ate a
jealous of
lot of
anything in
them.
my life.
Boy, and we thought charcuterie was bougie.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. This wasn't like a normal occasion. I've only ever had these once, and
Mine-
they're so good.
Mine has always been just some shrimp with some cocktail sauce. Like
Well, I agree.
All right, I
That
take mine back.
destroy that shit at like Christmas or whatever.
Yeah, no, I will again go Stalingrad on some shrimp.
See, my
The-
only issue is everywhere I get shrimp, we're not setting to break the bank on shrimp, so it's always like tiny shrimp. But
Agreed.
boy, oh boy, would I love to get like some like real jumbo shrimp.
No,
I want to just like
No,
plow
I'm gonna
down
tell
on,
you
like,
a big old
12 or
secret.
20. I'm not about to buy jumbo shrimp, Dan. That's
no,
ridiculous.
you can go out and buy jumbo shrimp. It's so
it's more,
easy.
It's like way more expensive though. Like you get the price per pound. It's like way
It really
more
is
expensive
compared to
Oh,
like
yeah.
regular
You can
size
get-
shrimp. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? When I come to your house for Thanksgiving or whatever, I'm gonna roll up with a whole bunch of shrimp.
Aw.
You know,
That's so
you know,
kind
no,
of you. My dad is
when you
allergic
co-
to shellfish, though. That's one of the other reasons that we don't do much with jumbo
But
shrimp.
is it like a severe allergy? Like I couldn't bring it in the house?
No, but he'd probably want to eat it, and he probably wouldn't. But
Okay.
So the question is how much do you love Noah and hate his dad at the same
I
time?
was gonna say, yeah, is this part of the plan? He knew this whole time.
Yeah, I was.
Oh boy, I do love Noah's family, but I do hate Noah's dad.
who did you compare
I'm
him to?
bringing
Though?
shellfish to the
if only
party.
there was some way that I could give them a
was it
gift.
Dustin Hoffman you compared my dad to?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
You could. I just remember. Yeah, I think because you compared him to like an aging somebody, and it was either Dustin Hoffman or Owen Wilson.
There's no way I compared your dad to either of those people. In fact, I'm not gonna lie, Dustin Hoffman is not even in my Rolodex of celebrities I will announce.
No, me neither.
Like I would never be like, this guy's like Dustin Hoffman. In fact, I know like what Dustin Hoffman looks like. If I saw him, I'd be like, yeah, that's Dustin. But if you were to be like, how is he as a person? I don't no idea.
You know, Dustin Hoffman. I don't think I remember ever seeing him before. I know I've seen him in movies and stuff, but I've never looked at his face until now. He kind of looks like Tim Allen, but like good.
He's like the good version of Tim Allen. Tim Allen's actually just dark Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
Dustin Hoffman 2.
I'm gonna be real with you. I thought you were
bad one.
talking about that dead guy from the Hunger Games. I just realized you're talking about someone totally different, not Seymour Hoffman. And I'm just like, boy, talking crap on my boy.
Amazing.
God.
See, I'm actually in a totally different realm because you said that dead guy from the Hunger Games, and I was just like, which one of them died that looked like Dustin Hoffman? And I was like, was it like the one dude who got like eaten by the dogs or whatever?
That's the one. That is the one.
That's him. That's Dustin. Dustin, no! Get away from the dogs, man.
I love how we're all somehow on the same page.
It's important that we're all on the same page.
Speaking of guys that Noah's dad looks like, if you watch The Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King, you will see like there's this one extra in the background that every time no, not that one, the other one. Every time he's like in those where Faramir is defending the city.
Oh, in
Osgiliath.
Yeah.
There's this one like background actor who looks exactly like Noah's dad, and so every time we watch the movie, we're just like, it gets to that part, everyone's dying, and then we'd all stop. We're like, hey, it's Noah's dad, and then we keep watching the movie.
I hope Noah's dad is okay.
That's amazing. I don't think I've ever noticed that. I need to. I don't want to rewatch that movie, but I might have to.
Wow, it's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, it is. I just don't have the
4 hours.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's worth watching. I actually haven't been to the movies in months. I'm going to the movies tonight. I invited Noah, and he said he doesn't like me, so I respect it.
Yeah, I did say that. I was just like, yeah, I would go, but like, I really hate you. So
yeah, I was like, no, do you want to go to the movies? He's like, actually, I don't like you. And I was like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Noah was like, man, if only I could give him something that would make him stop, like shrimp or something.
Yeah, I'm actually, I am pretty allergic to pineapple and strawberry and citrus fruits in large quantities.
That sucks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, citrus fruits, like, that one never really, like, gets me. And technically I'm allergic to yeast, but, like, barely. Like, if I ate a loaf of bread, I'd probably feel sick.
And drinking too much beer would probably do the same, right?
That's true. That's why usually I only drink a couple beers, and then I start to feel queasy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I also don't drink wine, but liquor's fine.
Well, there you go. The more you know. So
that's it. You just gotta feed me a whole bunch of pineapple strawberry beer with a lot of lemon in it.
We've got his kryptonite.
What a specific and incredibly shitty sounding beer.
Yeah, no, it does sound like a very bad time.
This is our lemon strawberry beer served with a lemon wedge.
You forgot the pineapple, Noah. My greatest weakness.
I'm sorry, the pineapple strawberry beer served
my
with
biggest
lemon
weakness.
wedge.
So in recent news that no one cares about except for me, the League of Legends is the group stage is over, and all of the European teams, all of my European sons, made it out of the group stages and into the bracket.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. They all made it to quarterfinals.
Proud of them.
Very excited. I did not think my favorite team, Fnatic, they were poised to basically lose because their group stage, it was the best, like one of the best teams in the world that's got the most history out of any team in the world. And then the Chinese team that almost won every single event last year, and then them. And then somehow they started out by going 1-2 on the first day. And on the second day, they just went 3-0 and beat every other team in the group, and they made it out. So it's a Christmas miracle. Nice. Very excited.
Shame that they're burning their Christmas miracle this early in the year, though. They're going to be screwed come December.
Well, they pulled out a Christmas miracle last year as well. They were the only team in the history of the game to go 0-4 in group stage, and then still managed to make it out on the last day. They won the last 2 games and then two tiebreakers, and then they made it to the finals.
Well, good for them, honestly.
So very exciting. I hope they can make it pretty far this year.
Yeah.
So we should, I guess, transition over to our next topic. Also, I just dropped my pen on the desk. Sorry, that was
flawless
loud.
segue I've ever heard.
Yeah, it was loud and in the middle of my speaking, so it's gonna be hard for Noah to cut that one out.
Yeah, it'll just stay there. I'm not worried about it.
Oh no! Then they'll all know, Noah.
I dropped it again, Noah.
Yeah, thanks. I could tell.
Sometimes I just like to make editing harder for Noah than it needs to be. So Elias here is actually we have not introduced his resident expertise.
It is not. You mean it's not stick MMA fighting?
I mean, it's not stick MMA. I mean, it is. But do we have any questions about stick MMA fighting? Because I genuinely I don't. No offense.
I feel like I don't know anything about it beyond the fact that Elias does it and that has been doing it for a while, and that is scary.
The only thing I know about it is that pretty much everyone who's even interested in it could beat me up. But also that goes to say that I think pretty much anybody could beat me up.
I'm not very tough. People.
Yeah, I'm not too tough. I'm not. It's who I am.
Fair enough. But yeah, there is another topic that we were talking about bringing up today.
Yeah, so this also goes back to my crazy college class stories. I mean, kind of. I have a college class that is on the subject of resistance and resistance groups throughout the Holocaust. So I just want to talk a little bit about that, do a little bit of history lessoning, break the tab off of my beer.
As one does.
Fall in. So, yeah, that's kind of what we got. Elias here is our resident expert on the subject. And if you're listening and you're not really comfortable listening to that or like hearing about that kind of stuff, it is definitely a grave topic and a sensitive subject matter. So, there's no problems with that. You don't have to tune into the later half of the episode. There's, no pressure, no shame, but it's definitely something I am passionate and interested about, and I would like to talk more about.
Yeah.
There's a good conduit for it, and Elias is a good person to talk to it about.
I'm no expert, but it's definitely something I'm very passionate about. So yeah, I'm really excited.
So I guess.
Wait, I'm sorry. You're not an expert.
Discussion.
Get out of here. Get him right out of here.
I was gonna say it's kind of funny as he got into my apartment. He's like, "So I gotta tell you, I don't think I'm actually like an expert, but I'm very interested, and I do happen to know like a little bit about it. I've been like looking into it a lot."
Yeah, and that's why I said resident expert. Yeah, it's a comparative.
Compared to all the other Eli's in the room.
It's true. Well, because I think being like in terms of like legally held as an expert, you have to be a doctor, I believe.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and he's not a doctor
like
yet.
In
he just
court,
has his master's. It's not as good.
Oh, all right. Because I'm pretty sure in a court you have to like have a doctorate in the field to testify as an expert witness.
Really? That makes sense.
I think. I may be wrong. There may be exceptions. Maybe people who've like worked in the field their whole life or something. But I think I remember that from like 10th grade civics class. So it's not. It's not foolproof.
Here we are calling everyone who comes on the podcast an expert. Edge didn't even have a doctorate in creepypastas. God.
Wait, you're telling me Edge didn't have a doctorate in creepypastas?
I thought she did. I don't know what happened.
We gotta cancel the whole podcast. This system doesn't work. The system is broken.
Also, I guess like worth noting, I know we already did say what this is about, but like obviously we do tend to treat a lot of things kind of flippantly here, and jokingly because that's like what our deal is.
Are you trying to tell me that on this comedy podcast?
Wait, this is a comedy podcast?
That's what it's listed in iTunes because Noah's dumb and doesn't know how that we're not funny.
I think we're funny, and that's what counts.
I think we're funny.
I think we're funny looking.
I think at least two of us are funny.
But the important thing is... I just wanted to clarify, we're not going to spend like any of our time talking about the Holocaust, talking about everyone's least favorite shitty Holocaust jokes.
Oh yeah, no, this isn't at all like a comedy segment. This isn't like jokes.
Yeah, this is not for joking. This is not for anything like that. That's not what we're about right now.
Yeah, and it's again, it goes to the subject matter. You know, usually what we talk about in the podcast isn't very sensitive subject matter. So it's a little bit like you can riff on the dude in my class who said you should lie to the cops. Because that's a good one.
So funny.
In fact, my class thinks that I'm a furry because I try to bring up an example in class. But yeah, no, this is definitely not something that we take lightly or think is in any way funny. But rather it's like an interesting and it's more of an informative segment of the podcast. I know I've researched actually pretty thoroughly to make sure that nothing I say and nothing like no information I give out is incorrect. To the best of my knowledge, I obviously like there are inaccurate sources out there, but I like to try and with these serious issues bring them up in a way that best represents the actual events and what actually happened.
All right.
So
with that,
take it away, my dude.
We're gonna delve into the topic.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start it out because I was moments ago talking about like the League of Legends stuff and my favorite team, which is from Sweden. So to keep in the Sweden vein of things, the person and the event that I want to talk about the most is a dude named Raoul Wallenberg, which I believe before this you guys said you didn't know about him at all, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
I do not.
And that's not uncommon or like that's not like, well, you don't know about Raoul Wallenberg. He is actually like he flew really under the radar. And I mean, he worked in pseudo espionage. It's kind of murky waters, and we'll get into why in a second here. But he doesn't really get a lot of recognition and a lot of credit. I mean, there's like a foundation for him in the U.S. these days, and he actually like had correspondence with Roosevelt. And he was a really influential figure from Sweden, and it worked out for him in a lot of different ways, mostly because his name was Raoul Wallenberg. That doesn't really like strike you as a Swedish name. It sounds almost like it could be a German name. And what he did is he basically he exploited the systems of bureaucracy that Germany had in place. Because Nazi Germany was incredibly bureaucratic. And I mean, Germany today is still bureaucratic. It's like the nation itself. That's one of the things they're culturally into, the bureaucracy. Yeah. And to each their own, I guess. If you like seals of approval and stamps, then Germany's your place to be. Gotta love bureaucracy, I guess. And he kind of exploited that. What he would do is he basically would hand people Swedish immunity passports that were technically real because he did have the approval of the Swedish government to give them out. And he would just basically hand them to people who were Jewish in Budapest. He mostly acted in the later part of the war. He really didn't start until 1945. 1944 actually is when he really got in there and started working, and that's pretty much when the war was coming to an end. At least on the Eastern Front near Hungary. And he fought mostly against the Arrow Cross Party, which was the Hungarian fascists, as well as some of like the residing Nazis in the city of Budapest. And I like him more than I like your figures like Oskar Schindler, because while he did save lives, he also he acted not necessarily as selflessly and in the same way, and he didn't save the same number. Raoul Wallenberg saved roughly 100,000 people. Saved 100,000 Hungarian Jews.
Lord, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's insane. The main tactic he used is he rented out 32 of these like houses in Budapest, and he was like, hey, these are Swedish diplomatic houses, put Swedish flags all over them, said they were Swedish houses, which gives them diplomatic immunity. And then he said, all right, we need to see how many Jews we can get in these houses. And so basically he took anyone he could find that was Jewish and was like, get in this house, because when they're in that house, they can't be touched by the Hungarians or the Germans.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was incredible. So he managed to get over 10,000, I want to say the number is, into the houses themselves, to have them like staying there. I know they were like mansions. They were just like houses.
Yeah, but still.
Because, I mean, it still is insane. It packed in like sardines, but it's that or die,
Yeah.
So it was really insane, and he managed to feed them and clothe them and house them for probably like a year, depending on how long they were there. And then he also was continually sending supplies to the ghetto in Budapest, which held around 70,000 people. So he just, like, the ghetto itself was not protected, and people were still being detained, and people were being exported from there.
Yeah.
And he did what he could to try and keep as many in the ghetto as he could. But he consistently sent them food and water and milk and all that stuff to keep them going for the entire duration he was in Budapest. He also had his office at the Swedish embassy. He got like a wing of the Swedish embassy, and he, again, crammed it full of as many people as he could. He hired them. He had over 400 people working for him in the building that basically were staying there whenever things got really rough towards the end.
Wow.
So it's really impressive. Now, actually, we watched a movie about it in my Holocaust resistance class. So I'm not sure how much of this is factually accurate. The stuff I've been saying so far, I'm actually getting off of, from various sources, mostly Wikipedia, as well as what the movie was saying. It is accurate, but it's hard to get the exact numbers and quotes and transcripts, because he unfortunately was killed. He was not by the Germans, not by the Hungarian fascists. He was actually detained by the Soviets.
Oh, jeez.
And the problem with that was he was colluding with the American government at the time, and the people from Sweden who sent him on the mission were also involved with American espionage. So basically, he himself was not a spy. He was not doing anything like that, but he had heavy ties to the American government and this part of the Swedish government that was being controlled by basically the CIA. Yeah. So, the Russians, they were like, you're a spy. You're lying to us.
So they obviously took that a little poorly.
Yeah. So he was detained at the end of the war. He was sent to Moscow, and he never returned. The Russians did release an official day of death in 1947, but no one knows if that's the real day or when that kind of happened. It was January of 1945 when he disappeared, though.
Oh my gosh!
And the thing about that is he worked. The Swedish embassy and the Swiss embassy were both kind of doing this stuff because they both had diplomatic immunity in Budapest. So they were both trying to save Jews, get them out of the city. And he was actually the Swiss had chartered a plane. And they were like, we're getting diplomats out of here because at the end of a war between two fascist nations, diplomacy doesn't really exist. As the Russians are storming a German-controlled city, and there's also Hungarian fascists there, having a passport that says you're a diplomat doesn't really get you much. So they were like, hey, we're getting out of Dodge.
Yeah.
And he said, you guys are, that's cool. Have fun. They were like, well, you don't know, like, you need to go on the plane. Like, you're being ordered by the Swedish embassy. You need to get in the plane. And he refused. He didn't take the plane. And he actually, because he didn't take the plane, he managed to save from extermination the 70,000 Jews that were being detained in the ghetto. So basically, at the cost of his own life, he saved those 70,000.
That's amazing.
It really is. It's and how he did it is, again, it's an exploitation of the bureaucracy. What he did is he went to the German general in control as the Soviets were storming the city. He was like, hey, it's over, man. But look, you're gonna kill this ghetto tonight to deny the resources and the people to the Soviets. He's like, but if you do that, this war is over. I know this war is over, and we have in writing proof that you're the one who commanded this to happen. He's like, there is no way you can live after the war. He's like, you're going to be hanged as a war criminal. Guaranteed. He's like, we also sent letters to your family. Now, there's no proof that he sent letters to the family, but he basically told the general, we sent letters to your family to say, hey, your dad, your husband, had the choice to not kill 70,000 people, and he chose to do it. So the general's like, yeah, whatever, call it off. So he let the 70,000 people live, basically to save face and to look good, which is a terrible reason for him. But the exploitation by Wallenberg is it's genius and it's heroic.
It's pretty masterful, like manipulation of another person's of another person's desires and what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's honestly it's incredible. He was like he was a hero, like well and simple. Now the film itself is probably embellished, if I do imagine, in terms of like the language used and like the scenery. But the film is called Guten Nacht, Herr Wallenberg. Good evening, Mr. Wallenberg. It's a foreign film. It's actually in Yiddish, Swedish, and German with some Hungarian. So it's a foreign film that you've gotta know all the languages ever, really.
My goodness.
Yeah, I think there's just like subtitle versions. At least when we watched it, we had English subtitles on. But it's kind of funny because there are 4 languages that go on throughout the movie, and you're kind of like, well, good thing we have subtitles.
Right.
It's really good. It's really worth watching. It's really sad, really heavy material. Because even though he did save so many people, he still failed in certain attempts. And you can kind of see him throughout the film and throughout the time he's there in Budapest. You can kind of see him slowly losing sanity because basically, let's say you're trying to save 10 people and you walk them out of the house, and then the Hungarians stop you and say these guys are going to die, and you're like, well, no, they have immunity passports, and then the Hungarians say, all right, and then just shoot them. Because it's the end of the war, and this man, he's going through so much turmoil trying to save these people, and he can't save all of them, but it's crazy that 100,000 managed to live, all because of one Swedish dude who was, by the way, he wasn't a diplomat by trade, he wasn't a politician by trade. Really? He was actually he sold and imported delicacies. So he would basically sell he'd import snails from France into Germany. And that's how he knew so much about the bureaucracies that exist in Germany, though, before and during the war. He knew how the Germans thought and how they operated. So he was more able to exploit their own system to save people.
It kind of sounds like something similar to Schindler, where they're salesmen and they're good at playing people. Not playing people as in kind of playing people, deceiving them and trying to get their way. Their way just happens to be actually really good and not just trying to sell you something.
Yeah, and Wallenberg was really, it was selfless. It was love for fellow man, and it was the identification of these people as valuable. And he gave his own life to save them because he could have been out of the city. He could have saved 30,000 people and called it a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but he
real.
stayed for a couple of extra days, saved another 70,000, and died in the process. And that's what the people, the Swiss diplomats told him. They said, "Hey, come with us. You're a hero. You've saved so many people. Just call it a day. You're a hero. Come home a hero."
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't, but he saved so many more. So honestly, really great guy. Really interesting to learn about. I think it's a super cool story, and I think it's one that a lot of people aren't familiar with.
Yeah, that's super cool.
I had never heard that before myself.
It goes kind of unnoticed for several reasons. I mean, one of which is he didn't make it out of the war, and another is that it's in the Eastern Front, and in the U.S., it's not that we don't learn about the Eastern Front. I mean, we know about those kind of things. We know about Operation Barbarossa and your stuff like Stalingrad, which I reference all the time because. I mean, it's crazy, it's absolute destruction.
Yeah.
But you don't really hear about the Eastern Front as much as you hear about, Normandy and storming the beaches and the Battle of the Bulge and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the reason for that it wasn't as spicy and cool as the war in the Pacific, where it's one big battle, bunch of people die, and then it's over. It was just it was just dragging on, and most of it was just artillery. Taking out troops.
It was sloppy. It was long. A lot of bombing.
Yeah, you couldn't make a movie about it because you couldn't make an 8-month-long movie. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can make a movie about Iwo Jima. Bada bing, bada boom. It was a couple days, not a big deal. But you do Stalingrad. In
terms of time, yeah.
How long was Stalingrad? How many months was that?
It was a bit over 6 months.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean it's an incredible story. But I also think another reason we don't hear too much about it over here is we still have tensions with the former Soviet Union.
Yes. And
we don't really want to be hey guys, look at all this heroic stuff they did.
Yeah, you don't want to glorify them.
Yeah. It's kind of you want to be in Stalingrad, they were forced to fight. If they backed out, they'd be shot. And while that is true, deserters were shot. Deserters were shot by the U.S. too. That's honestly, deserters are executed in most every country's. It's the UCMJ in the U.S., which is United Code of Military Justice. And most countries have one, and most all of them are saying, if in war times you desert, you're dead. We can shoot you. So, that is true. But also there are thousands upon thousands of people who volunteered during Stalingrad from the city, civilians who just would pick up a gun or build a barricade. The battle took 6 months because the Germans had to walk through and take every single building. Because even after they firebombed them, the Soviets holed up in every single building, and the Germans had to walk up the stairs. They had to walk through the rooms, and they had to clear everything. And then that cost a lot of lives. So 6 months.
That's terrifying,
absolute,
man. Being on either end of that.
Is.
Yeah, I was just going to say, doesn't matter what side you're fighting on at that point. That is just a horrific situation to be in.
Yeah, terrifying, and it's scary. But it's real. It happened. 6 months of that every day.
How spoiled are we?
I'm pretty.
It is good to be American, man.
It is, and that's. I think we've talked about in the podcast before how although I am definitely I do have some radical viewpoints. I also love America. I definitely want better for it, and I want to see things get better. But I dropped my pen again, Noah. I got a new pen the other day, so I'm very excited and just been playing with it all the time.
Understandable.
But yeah, no, I do love America. And I love being from here. It's something I can't change about myself. I can't go back in time and be born somewhere else. Trust me, I would if I could. I was born in Ohio, technically.
Gross. Pick a better place.
I know. You're telling me. I have to celebrate Swedish Day now. I don't want to celebrate Swedish Day. But I will celebrate Swedish Day for all of Wallenberg.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely a guy worth talking about. Definitely a guy worth, making a toast to. Yeah. A real hero, honestly. And especially in a time period where there really weren't many heroes stepping up.
Yeah.
In that way, there weren't many people like him. Because he didn't fight. He resisted diplomatically, which was something that he really did to a T. He masterfully, like you said, manipulated the systems that the Germans had in place. Saved 100,000 people. That's crazy. That's the city of Erie.
Yeah.
That's every single person that lives in the city of Erie.
Which, honestly, that's by itself already incredibly impressive. Just putting it in, context like that.
Yeah.
I feel like numbers get thrown around a lot for things, and it doesn't always, register just how huge those numbers are.
Yeah. It is. The city has infrastructure. It has, there's venues, there's places to be, there's things to do, there's places to see, and it's miles of area. And it's 100,000 people. All those lives, all those people that I've probably seen a lot of their faces, just being out and about, but I know a fraction of them. And I know what it feels like to have one of those fraction of people go away forever, let alone every single one of them. So I think that the saving of that many lives is something that really deserves a drink, a toast, a thank you, I guess, but you can't really thank someone after they're gone.
Yeah, what do you do?
It's hard. Yeah.
What do you do?
There are foundations in his name and people who, donate to different causes.
Well, and not to be
but yeah,
we're the heroes for talking about it, but genuinely that honestly might be one of the best things we can do to show thanks is to remember. Keep telling the story, keep remembering.
Yeah.
Just as an average Joe on the street, remembering the story, keep telling the tale because that it's worth telling and it's worth knowing.
Yeah, it's a really great story, and if you do have the chance to see it, Guten Nacht, Herr Wallenberg is really, really worth watching. It is a heart-wrenching tale, and it's as I said, embellished a little bit. The numbers aren't, though. The numbers are there. In fact, one of the greatest scenes in the movie, and also I when I saw it, I was like, all right, that's pretty cool, but whatever, because I didn't necessarily think that it was like that, that it happened like that. It turns out it's okay. So I'll explain the scene in the movie first. Basically, Raoul Wallenberg and his driver pull up to a train that is transporting Jews to a concentration camp. When it stops, they basically drive their truck up real fast, back it up, open the doors, hand out passports to everyone in the train car, and load them in the truck and drive off, with the Hungarian fascists standing there screaming at them the whole time. And I'm like, all right, there's no way they did that without being shot. That's not feasible, right? These fascists would just immediately kill you. Turns out it is true. He did that, but what he did is actually more badass than that. What he did is he jumped on top of the train because the doors were sealed, threw the passports in to people while being shot at by the fascists, explained his cause to the fascists, and then forced them to open the doors by pretending he was a higher ranking diplomat than he actually was, freed a train car full of people, and then drove off. And because one of the ways he did it is these were Hungarians, and they were in cahoots with the Germans. Obviously, they were transporting people. They were working with the Germans, so they spoke German, but they weren't fluent in German.
Mm-hmm.
And Raoul Wallenberg, because he was he was a diplomat, and before that he imported delicacies to places like Germany and Hungary. He spoke fluent Hungarian and fluent German.
Mm-hmm.
So what he did is he went up to them and he started screaming in basically fluent German. These Hungarian dudes are like, wait, this guy with a diplomatic passport from Sweden is screaming at me in fluent German. I don't know German that well. This guy's got to be more important than me. I'm not gonna die because it's fascism. If you mess up like that, you're gonna die.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you don't, because he's saying these people have passports, these people need to work for me. They need to do immediate repairs, and then he's like screaming at them, and they're like, all right, whatever, just take them. So he saves a train car full of people.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And there were, I'm sure, other instances very similar to that in which he did the same thing by basically giving people these passports, which also, if they had one of these passports and they were still in the city, they didn't have to wear the Yellow Star of David.
Oh, which gave them like visible protection as well.
Exactly. You don't have that on. People don't even ask as much for your papers. You're more likely to be able to go in somewhere and buy food if you don't have the star on.
Yeah.
So it really was. I mean, he saved so many people.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it really is. Yeah. Also, I'm sorry that story took 20 minutes to tell. I didn't think it would take that long.
Again,
but
it's a good story.
Yeah, seriously,
it's a good story.
I can't help but think, but like how many people were like in his position that could have pulled the trigger and like saved some people and then just didn't.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
You gotta do. Yeah,
it's like you can't blame them for not doing it because like obviously that's a really horrifically scary thing to do. But like at the same time, if you have that ability, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it is one of those things where it definitely is too easy to blame them after the fact. To be like, well, they should have, because at the time, he died for it.
Yeah.
Like he didn't live happily ever after. He didn't go home a hero. He didn't get all these badges and medals.
Mm-hmm.
He died in a Russian prison camp, which is one of the worst things that can happen to someone.
No, yeah.
But it's that, or 100,000 people get shot in the streets or put in concentration camps. It's rough, and he really did a stand-up job. He really deserves more credit than he gets, and so props to him. Yeah. It's also funny to note he wasn't the first choice of people to send there.
Really?
Their first choice got denied because he was too cool, basically. He was a member of like the Swedish royal family, and he was all this like special stuff. But because Wallenberg had a German-sounding last name, and obviously I don't think this of him after what he did, but he was relatively unremarkable. Like
right.
he got out of he went to a decent college, got decent grades, was from a decent family, made decent money, and traveled a little bit, spoke some languages, but he wasn't like the standout, amazing Swedish citizen because the Germans weren't going to want that, The Germans don't want a standout, amazing, upright Swedish person to go to Budapest on a diplomatic mission with vague outlines to it.
That is, okay, so like you saying that right there just like kind of like hit me like a brick wall. It's like he wasn't really the first choice. It's like after you said that, there's like a ton of parallels in between like the story you just told and this like really old like Hebrew story. You ever hear of like Ehud the left-handed?
I haven't, but I'm left-handed.
Hilarious story. Every left-handed person should definitely read it. But like basically he was a messenger. The Moabites were ruling over the Israelites, right? Mm-hmm. And so they sorry, I had to adjust my mic. And so they had to send in the taxes, and they sent in basically this like second-class guy. He wasn't their first choice. He goes in and he basically like murders the king and leads the Israelites like into freedom out from under the Moabites. And so just like,
oh yeah,
I think I might know the story.
I was gonna say, is this the one where with where he just walked, where the king was so ridiculously fat?
Yes.
Yeah. I love
because he's left-handed.
He's left-handed. They check his left side to check him for a weapon. And they're like, all right, there's no weapon here. And they wouldn't send a left-handed guy because no one likes left-handed people. And so they let him walk in. He's got a dagger on his right side because that's where you draw it from. But it just like, no one really suspected him of that because he wasn't like the top dog. He wasn't a cool guy like the royal guy you were talking about, So it's just like, it doesn't have to be people's first choice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and it's kind of, it's sad too because like he never thought, like he didn't think of himself as a hero.
Yeah.
And it's apparent by the way he like acted and the way he talked. And it's because it's hard to see yourself as a hero. If sure you save 100,000 people, but 200 get shot in the head right in front of you that you're trying to save. Mm-hmm. It's hard to be like, I'm doing a great thing. I'm a hero.
Bro, that would mess me up.
Yeah. And it's at the end, after he saves the 70,000 and he's about to be taken by the Russians, because he is a diplomat, they do take him politely. They basically say, go get your things and come down to the car. Because, again, he's a Swedish diplomat. You can't manhandle him in public.
Yeah.
So he goes up to get his things and he talks to his driver, and he says, "For once in my life, I feel like I am no less a man than any other."
Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
For once in my life, I feel like no less a man than any other.
Ooh.
So basically, all he feels after doing all that is, I'm not that much worse than anybody else.
Boy,
and it's heartbreaking to see like the degradation of someone over, and he was only there for like a year.
Wild.
So yeah, it's crazy, and it's also important to note when he got to the city, there were about 250 or so, a little bit less than 250,000 Jews left in Hungary. So he saved almost half of them.
He saved half. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's actually amazing. I mean, like, I know that like there's at no point in the story to think, whatever. That's but like,
but the ratio itself is
numbers in perspective like that.
That's the hard thing is like it's. I feel like you get like kind of numb to it when you hear such a big number because you just think, it's like a whole pile of people. But like each of those are like individual people, which is why it was like for the longest time, like the Jewish people were like banned from taking a census because to keep the kings from looking at them as numbers and to keep them looking at them as individuals is like, you don't want to ignore the fact that he saved that many people because that's a lot of individuals and really is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a whole like thing that I can't remember what the study I read was, but like there's a whole study about like at about like 100 or 200 something like that, 250 something like that, human beings just can't like we still really have a hard time comprehending like envisioning numbers of things.
And especially when those things are people,
exactly, and like people especially like I don't like.
Yeah, we talked about that in church this morning actually.
Yeah,
did you really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. The guy was like listing through like the 4 basic types of pastors, yada yada yada. It was actually a really cool thing that I'm not going to get into because I don't think it's really relevant to the conversation. But the one thing he talked about was the community pastor and how he's all about like taking care of his community and everything, and he knows everyone in the community even if they don't go to his church, yada yada yada. But he's like, the max number of people that you can really care about and invest individually in everyone's lives, it's probably somewhere between 100 and 200 people.
Yeah, and that's if you're stretching yourself thin.
Exactly. Like, honestly, like, I don't even remember how many people that I know, because I remember I one day made like some offhanded comment, not realizing how many people were in the podcast Discord server. I made some offhand comment about only caring about something like 13 people, haha, and I was saying that like as in like the number of people in the server and like a couple other people I directly knew and like regularly interact with. And Emma immediately called me out and she's like, well, there's like 20 people in this Discord server, so which one of us don't you care about? I'm like, what, really? So even on like small numbers, if you're not really thinking about it, it's very easy to slip away from.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so it's that much more incredible that this guy was able to care about like, and it's really one of those things where it's more of a care for humanity as a whole than it is a care for individuals. And not that he didn't care for the individuals, but it's the idea is with a number that big, it's not an individual thing. It's not a personal thing. It's not like he was saving his friends. He was saving people out of his love for humanity and his respect for their right to live.
There's no way he knew each one of them individually.
Oh yeah, and he probably didn't know that many of them at all that he was saving, because what they would do with his passports is they weren't real names. They weren't the people. They give him a passport, the names that say like, I don't know, like Anna Karenina, and you look at it and you're like, all right, I guess it's me now. And that's the thing, they hand out passports and they're like, oh, this is me, cool.
Yeah.
And that's how he got away with doing that stuff like on the train. Like it wasn't like he knew the people's names and was giving them a passport. He was just like, hey, I've got 20 passports. There's 20 people here. Here you go, guys.
Yeah.
Congrats on being a Swedish citizen. Like,
fantastic. What a good way to end this podcast.
Yeah. What an adventure we've gone on today.
I guess we never really got to ask Eli too many questions. In fact, his recording meter is really, really low.
You have a meter?
Yeah.
Is my meter full? My meter's definitely full. I actually just like hijacked that entire bit.
I don't have yours yet, but as soon as I see yours, I'll be able to tell you it's definitely full.
Yeah, that story definitely took way longer than I thought. But I mean, also, like, I think we were all way more engaged with it.
Oh yeah.
So I just kind of kept telling more information.
No, I very much enjoyed it.
Same.
On that front, though, I would like to give. I know Eli's not one much for the interwebs, but I'm sure he has something to say about himself.
Eli, have you said anything about yourself ever?
Yeah, once or twice. Eli, what do you want to know?
So like,
Eli, notorious for not having opinions.
one of these days we'll get Eli on for a different episode, so we can just let his gigantic deep thoughts brain just like go run amok on things.
Eli has one of the biggest brain energies that I've ever met.
Yikes.
Eli too.
But yeah, so Eli, amateur MMA fighter, goes by Left Shark currently. If how often are you fighting outside of Erie County?
Not very often. I've only ever fought out of my career. I've only ever fought one time, so 1 out of 5 times, and that was in West Virginia.
Nice.
Almost
Don't
7.
say it. Don't. God damn it.
Dude,
I'm like
I
sitting
was
here,
like,
I'm like, oh, who's it gonna be? Who's gonna be the one to
Fight
ruin
the
it?
Blue Ridge Mountain.
bro, we were like, I was cutting weight for that, and I was like,
Was-
not super happy. And I was riding with another fighter that was like cutting a lot of weight, wasn't super happy. And we were like cranky as frick. We wanted food, we wanted water, we hated everyone, and we crossed the state line, and we both like turned to each other, locked eyes, and we just like burst out singing Country Roads. We're just like, yeah,
Amazing.
and then we went back to being cranky, but it was a good,
as you
it was
do.
good.
For just a moment.
Always
For just
right
the
with the
briefest
world.
moment. Wild.
But yeah, so I mean, like Elias Left Shark, Buell, he will be on Flyers. Keep your eyes open if you ever want to catch him. Puts on a good show.
Always.
Last time he bit someone's ear off, which was
Oh, that was you?
that was him.
Wow.
You may have thought it was that Tyson guy, but it wasn't.
Nah.
Big fan of the face tattoo.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very proud of it. I got it in prison.
Sometimes
After
you
you
do.
bit the guy's ear off.
Is it illegal to bite someone's ear off in a fight?
If it's a sanctioned fight, that would be a big yes.
Yes, it is
Is it like
illegal.
prison illegal or is it like disqualified illegal?
It's
Is it-
not prison illegal, but
It's
you're
just like
definitely,
hefty fine,
definitely
right?
disqualified.
Ooh, disqualification too. Well, I mean, like I guess in hindsight, I would certainly hope so, because if there's one thing that I do not want, it's someone just being like, oh yeah, bit this guy's ear off, so they fined me $30,000, but still won, so yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and look, the fight was worth more than that. So you know what? I see this as an absolute win.
That's right. I forgot boxing matches tend to bring in like in the millions.
Yeah, I'm not salty about that.
Not at all.
I didn't want to ask, but also, how you feel about that, buddy? You want to talk about it?
No.
He feels like he chose the wrong martial art. He should have been a real American and boxed his way to victory like Americans do.
I don't know those gay Brazilian martial arts.
What are Wait, isn't it like capoeira? Isn't it like dancing?
Yes, capoeira is a Brazilian martial art, not the one that I do though.
He does jiu-jitsu, which
Is that like dancing?
it's like angry wrestling.
It's like imagine, I've heard it described as like folding laundry, but with the people still in the laundry. So
I buy it.
it's a beautiful art. I love it so much. It is beautiful.
That's really good. Holy crap! I
It's
love that a
also-
lot.
and
It's
Can
also
confirm
wait.
have been folded by
Is
Eli.
jiu-jitsu Brazilian?
Jiu-jitsu originally is Japanese, but during like the early 1800s, there was a lot of Japanese immigrants that came to Brazil, and they brought the art with them. And the Brazilians, like, they loved it, but there was like one specific guy who was like really weak and asthmatic. He was basically like the Teddy Roosevelt of Brazil, and he took this jiu-jitsu and he was like, I can't do this. This is for big, strong people. So he modified it for a weak guy and developed his own art called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Then the big guys started using it, and then it was just way more efficient. So
Yeah, he's like, hey guys, look at this cool thing I did. They're like, yeah, we're just gonna use it to beat you up now. He's like, unlucky. That's a cool story though.
yeah, man.
I don't do that. I just post on Tumblr at Turning Point USA.
At Turning Point USA, huh?
Mhm.
Sometimes I post on Tumblr at Bubba Da Bad, but other times I post on Instagram and Twitter as Bubba Da Bad. BUBBADABAD.
Yo, I love
That's a
Bubba
weird
Wubba Dab.
choice.
Hey, shut up. Bubba Wubba Dab's the other guy. He's a hack.
Well, actually, nah. Bubba Wubba Dab is definitely the cooler of the
his Twitter
Bubbas.
account is just objectively funnier than mine. I'm furious.
Yeah, a little bit.
For a Suzuki Joe Stan account, he really does have good jokes outside of Suzuki Joe.
I'm sorry, are you implying that Suzuki Joe is a joke?
No, but the jokes he makes about Suzuki Joe are jokes.
I see.
Dang. Dan out here disrespecting our Lord and Savior, Suzuki Joe.
I just had to make sure you weren't, committing high heresy.
Oh no. Dan, if we want to hear you commit high heresy, where do we go?
Where don't you go to see me commit horrible
my.
crimes?
Better question, honestly.
Let's see. God, Twitter. at Born to Rule, at Born to Rule 57, Instagram at Born to Rule 57, and Twitch at Born to Rule. Twitch.tv/Born to Rule, whatever.
Are we like dropping our info?
We are.
Oh, hot dang! Can I go next?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Do you have info?
Yeah. No, dude. I've never done this before. They like never let me talk after fights. They just like I either beat the guy up and they kick me out of the cage, or I get beat up and they kick me out of the cage. So I never get to drop this. I'm so excited. Okay,
go for it. Do it.
It's Left Shark MMA on Instagram. Yeah, that's all I got.
You know what though? Here's the thing. I'm pulling up your Instagram right now.
Do it. But yeah, I like announce fights on there and keep people updated on what I'm doing. I don't have a ton of posts, but I'll let you know if I get like nominated for any awards or anything. And it's a good time.
Is that a common thing? Do you usually get nominated for awards?
If you go on his Instagram right now, you can see his terrible airbrushed abs when they were trying to make him look tougher.
Yo, they took a picture of me and they did me dirty, man. They took my beautiful round like belly and they airbrushed me. They airbrushed me hard.
Oh no.
I didn't want to call you on it, but like, yeah.
Dude. No, okay.
It's not great.
This is going to sound really weird, but look at the positions of my nipples.
I was about to say they moved
way
it.
higher
one
than
is
the other.
notably higher.
And I've looked in the mirror, like in real life, it's not that way. But like, I don't.
Sure. Okay, but if it was that way, would you tell us?
Yeah.
Don't lie. Don't lie on my podcast.
But no, I did get nominated for Submission of the Year when I did like not really a flying Kimura, but it was like a rolling Kimura. It was a good time. It was a good time.
And that was the fight on my birthday.
That's either a fight,
for Noah's birth,
or a sex thing.
Whoever wins gets to be Noah's dad. Dustin Hoffman won it all.
Wait, Noah's dad or Noah's daddy? I lost. I got
I'm moving away
confused.
from that
Noah's dad,
real hard.
and then Dustin Hoffman won the fight.
Twitter.com/theofftheair, Facebook.com/OTA podcast, and Patreon.com/offtheair. You can find us on all these things. If you want to support us monetarily, Patreon is the place to be.
Patreon is definitely the place to be. There's also some real fun stuff like in the next week and a half, 2 weeks. I think we
can have 2 weeks. We will actually. I know I've said this for the last couple weeks.
No, we've had a couple of things going
bonus
up.
content. No, we haven't.
Really? I thought that went up. It never went up? My dude. Friendo.
We will have bonus content. Our technically second ever bonus content will be live in 2 weeks, which is amazing and good.
I would have gotten mine done like a week and a half ago. I didn't know. I thought you got yours up.
You promised me you would get it done like 2 months ago, so watch your mouth.
I thought you had yours up already.
I got all my bonus content I promised done.
It's true.
Jackson.
Did you say Are you guys saying bonus or bogus?
Yes.
Both.
Jackson did all his bogus content, and Dan and I need to handle our bonus content.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
this whole podcast is bogus content. Yeah. I'm so mad.
If you don't want to support us monetarily for bonus content that seems like it may never come, you can support us by going to iTunes and Apple Podcasts and just dropping us a 5-star review saying some nice stuff about us, or wherever you happen to listen to your podcast. I will read out your review if you write one, as long as it's air appropriate. If you review us on something other than Apple Podcasts, though, you got to send me a screenshot of it. Otherwise, I can't read it because I don't know where it is. That's about it, though.
That's it. We're done here.
Big thanks to Left Elias Shark Mama.
Oh shoot, that me.
Or is it Mama or is it Ma?
It's Ma.
Left Shark Ma. Thank you for coming on today, Eli.
Yo, it is my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys.
It was a treat. We got to get you back to let you go off on something. I don't know what yet, but we'll give you something to go off on.
Word. Sounds good. Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, thank you for the good Holocaust story.
Yeah, it's a really great tale of one man's, successful resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
All right, we're done here.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Catch you next week.
Bye.
Good work.
Bye. Noah's going to cut out that bye.